A young man from Nebraska moves to Florida and goes to a big, everything under one roof department store looking for a job. The manager asks, "Do you have any sales experience?" The kid replies, "Yeah, I was one of the best Bible salesmen back in Omaha." The boss liked the kid and gave him the job. "You can start tomorrow. I'll come down after we close and see how you did." His first day on the job was rough, but he got through it. After the store was locked up, the boss came down. "How many customers bought something from you today?" The kid responds, "1." The boss says, "Just one? Our salespeople average 20 to 30 customers a day. How much was the sale for?" $101,000. $101,000. Holy Mother Mary! What did you sell to him? "First, I sold him a small fish hook. Then, I sold him a medium fish hook. Then, I sold him a larger fish hook. Then, I sold him a new fishing rod. Then, I asked him where he was going fishing, and he said down the coast. I told him he was going to need a boat, so we went down to the boat department, and I sold him a twin-engine Boston whaler. Then, he said he didn't think his car would pull it, so I took him down to the automobile department and sold him a 4x4 truck with all the bells and whistles. A guy came in here to buy a fish hook, and you sold him a boat and a truck? No, the guy came in here to buy feminine products for his wife, and I said, 'Dude, your weekend's shot. You should go fishing.'" A woman takes her 16-year-old daughter to the doctor. "Okay, Mrs. Jones, what's the problem?" The mother says, "It's my daughter Debbie. She keeps getting these cravings. She's putting on weight, and she is sick most mornings." The doctor gives Debbie a good examination, then turns to the mother and says, "Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but your Debbie is pregnant. About 4 months would be my guess." The mother says, "Pregnant? She can't be. She has never been left alone with a man. Have you, Debbie?" Debbie says, "No, mother. I've never even kissed a man." The doctor walked over to the window and stared outside. About 5 minutes passed before the mother said, "Is there something wrong out there, doctor?" The doctor replied, "No, not at it. It's just that the last time anything like this happened, a star appeared in the east and 3 wise men came over the hill. I'm not going to miss it this time around." A guy decides to take off work early from work and go drinking. He stays in the bar until it closes at 2 a.m. By then, he is extremely drunk. When he gets back to his house, he doesn't want to wake anyone up, so he takes off his shoes and starts tiptoeing up the stairs. Halfway up the stairs, he loses his balance, falls over backwards, and lands flat on his rear end. That wouldn't have been so bad, except that he had a couple of empty pint bottles in his back pockets, and they broke, carving up his rear end terribly. But he was so drunk he didn't know he was hurt. A few minutes later, as he was undressing, he saw some blood. He checked himself out in the mirror, and sure enough, his rear end is cut up something terrible. He repaired the damage as best he could under the circumstances and went to bed. The next morning, his head was hurting, and his rear was hurting, and he was lying under the covers trying to think up a good story when his wife came into the bedroom. "Well, you really tied one on last night," she said. "Where'd you go?" "I worked late," he said, "and I stopped off for a couple of beers." "A couple of beers? That's a laugh," she replied. "You were plastered last night, and you know it. Where'd you go?" "What makes you so sure I got drunk last night anyway?" "Well," she replied, "my first big clue was when I got up this morning and found a bunch of Band-Aids stuck to the mirror." A lawyer, sitting next to Blonde on a long flight, was pestering her to play a game. "I ask you a question, and if you don't know the answer, you pay me, and vice versa." The blonde politely declined and tried to get some sleep. The lawyer made another offer. "Okay, if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5. But if I don't know the answer, I will pay you $1,000. The blonde agreed. The lawyer asked the first question. "What's the distance from the Earth to the Moon?" The blonde silently reached into her purse, pulled out a $5 bill, and handed it to the lawyer. Then she asked the lawyer, What goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4? And went back to sleep. The lawyer did research on his iPhone, called his buddies, etc., all to no avail. After over an hour, he gave up. He woke the blonde up and handed her $1,000 and asked, "Well, so what is the answer?" Again, without a word, the blonde reached into her purse, handed the lawyer $5 and went back to sleep. There was a poor old Irish cobbler whose shop was next door to a very upscale French restaurant. Every day at lunchtime, Mike, the Irish gent, would go out at the back of his shop and eat his soda bread and maybe a kipper or piece of Irish blue cheese, while smelling the wonderful odors coming from the restaurant's kitchen. One morning, the Irishman was surprised to receive an invoice in the mail from the adjoining restaurant for enjoyment of food. Mystified, he marched right over to the restaurant to point out that he had not bought a thing from them. The manager said, "You're enjoying our food, so you should pay us for it." The Irishman refused to pay, and the restaurant took him to court. At the hearing, the judge asked the restaurant to present their side of the case. The manager said, "Every day, this man comes and sits outside our kitchen and smells our food, it while eating his. It is clear that we are providing added value to his poor food, and we deserve to be compensated for it." The judge turned to Mike and said, "What do you have to say to that?" The old Irishman didn't say a thing, but smiled and stuck his hand in his pocket and rattled the few coins he had inside. The judge asked him, "What is the meaning of that?" The Irishman replied with a mile-wide grin, "I'm paying for the smell of his food with the sound of my money." Sister Mary Ann, who worked for a home health agency, was making her rounds. She was visiting homebound patients when she ran out of gas. As luck would have it, a gas station was just a block away. She walked to the station to borrow a gas can and buy some gas. The attendant told her that the only gas can he owned had been loaned out, but she could wait until it was returned. Since Sister Mary Ann was on the way to see a patient, she decided not to wait and walked back to her car. She looked for something in her car that she could fill with gas and spotted the bedpan she was taking to the patient. Always resourceful, Sister Mary Ann carried the bedpan to the station, filled it with gasoline, and carried the full bedpan back to her car. As she was pouring the gas into her tank, 2 Baptists watched from across the street. One of them turned to the other and said, "If it starts, I'm becoming Catholic." A Chinese doctor can't find a job in a hospital in the US, so he opens his own clinic and puts a sign outside. "Get treatment for $20. If not cured, get back $100. An American lawyer thinks this is a great opportunity to earn $100 and goes to the clinic. Lawyer, "I have lost my sense of taste." Chinese, "Nurse, bring medicine from box number 22 and put 3 drops in patient's mouth." Lawyer, "Ugh, this is kerosene." Chinese, "Congrats, your sense of taste is restored. Give me $20. The annoyed lawyer goes back after a few days to recover his money. Lawyer, "I have lost my memory. I cannot remember anything." Chinese, "Nurse, bring medicine from box number 22 and put 3 drops in his mouth." Lawyer, annoyed, "This is kerosene. You gave this to me last time for restoring my taste." Chinese, "Congrats, you got your memory back. Give me $20. The fuming lawyer pays him, and then comes back a week later, determined to get back $100. Lawyer, "My eyesight has become very weak. I can't see at all." Chinese, "Well, I don't have any medicine for that, so take this $100. Lawyer, staring at the note, "But this is $20, not $100. Chinese, "Congrats, your eyesight is restored. Give me $20.